Hello there, welcome back to my YouTube channel. It's your girl Amina Faruta. So today we'll be talking about a serial killer from South America. His name is Pedro Andes Lopez. Pedro Andes Lopez hails from Brazil. He was born in 1948. So you see, this guy, when he was born, he he was born to his mom's name was Benalda. Then the mom had 13 of them. She had 13 kids, and Pedro was number, okay, let's call him Lopez. Lopez was number 7 out of the kids. So at a very young age, he said he was exposed to prostitution. Not him prostituting, like he witnessed various acts of prostitution. So when he was 8 years old, his mom caught him fondling his younger sister, and then she got annoyed. She sent him out of the house. So at the age of 8, Pedro started living in the streets. So while he was in the street, he said he was molested, he was raped by several persons. While he was growing up, he had wanted to become a teacher. So someone saw him in the street, the person took him, then sent him to the orphanage, and then he started attending orphanage schools. So while he was in school once, a teacher, he said he was molested by a male teacher. The male teacher sexually assaulted him. So before Pedro became an adult, why before Pedro became 18 years old, he started stealing. He was stealing vehicle parts, he was stealing cars. As in, the guy dey thief car like this, he go carry am where dem dey panel am. Dem go just scatter the motor like this. He go sell, he go collect the money, he go move. So he kept stealing motor vehicle parts until he was arrested. So while he was arrested, he was in jail, and then when they sent him to jail, he was raped again. Many of his fellow inmates, they were abusing him, they gang raped him in the cell, until at a point he started trying to defend himself. At one point he said he murdered the most brutal of all of his rapists. So after murdering that person, once in the cell, he was attacked by 5 inmates and he killed 3 of them. The other 2, the jackpot, this one a madman wey dey go for jail. So he was released. So after he was released 4 years later. So after Lopez was released, he came out, he started murdering women. He is rich, come dey kill girls. So he was murdering women. After some years, they discovered he murdered over 100 women. And then before he was found by some indigenous tribe. So they wanted to like kill him on the spot and burn him. But then he was saved by some missionaries. There were some missionaries that came from the United States. They were in Brazil at that time. So they were like, they should report him to the authorities instead. So when they reported him to the authorities, they didn't hold him for long. They just left him, they freed him. So he moved from there, he went straight to Peru. So when he got to Peru, he continued his murdering spree. So this was where most of his killings and all of his activities took place. He started killing young girls, and many of his victims, they were young girls between the ages of 7 to 12 years old. Pedro confessed to the murder and to the sexual assault of over 240 women. And then he said, while he was confessing, he said he preferred he preferred the girls from Ecuador, because he murdered from Peru to Ecuador, from there to Colombia. Like, he just kept committing all those crimes. So he raped over 100 girls in Peru. Then when he moved to Ecuador, when he got to Ecuador, he kept molesting them. He was raping girls. He just continued the assault. The assault went on for so many years until he was finally arrested. So at the time he was arrested, there was this flash flood. So while the flash flood took place, it opened like a mass grave. So he showed many of his victims there. About over 53 bodies were found. 53 bodies of young girls between the ages of 7 to 12 years that he had murdered in the place. So after he was arrested, he confessed to all of this crime, over the 300 women between Peru and everywhere. So they discovered, yes, 53 bodies were found. Yes, this guy had committed the crime, so he was sentenced to jail. But then the maximum years that was allowed for a prisoner as at that time was 16 years. So he was sentenced to life imprisonment. So that's 16 years before he completed his 16 years. After 14 years, he was released. He was released on grounds of good behavior. Now, Lopez even has a tattoo on his arm. He says he kills for pleasure. That's what the tattoo reads. So, after he was released, he went on to commit more murders, and then they went in search of him. He was caught at once because and they charged him for because he was an illegal migrant, so he was deported back to his country, Bogota, that's Colombia, the capital of Bogota. So while he was deported, he stayed there. There were other several murders that took place, I think around 2002. Pedro was rearrested in 2011, while he was rearrested for murder of extra four persons. So he was rearrested, and finally he was released in 2017. And then he committed two extra murders. While he committed two extra murders, they were in search of him. See, as I dey here dey talk to you now, Pedro don free o. Nobody know where he dey. So you see, if you wan sleep this night, try lock your door. So tell me what you think about Pedro. Yours Farotali signing out.